We conduct studies on behalf of drug companies. We contain the patients in an inpatient scenario, so basically a hospital ward. And we have all the facilities, the ancillary facilities that are required to execute these studies.
So I think the advantages are on a number of fronts. I think first is the geographic location, which is important from a seasonality perspective, which allows us to recruit patients during different seasons as opposed to Northern Hemisphere. I think the second advantage is our networks. The founders of the business have got very strong relationships and networks within the South African market. We have established a very strong relationship with a leading healthcare player in the country, and that gives us access to approximately 1 million patients seen annually. Obviously not all of them are appropriate for clinical trials, but at least the database is there from which we can recruit patients. Secondly, we have very strong ties into the public healthcare sector, where we have access to both tertiary and primary care patients. Two advantages to that is one is a much broader disease profile, and secondly we can give something back into the community in terms of providing treatment.
This area is quite a major healthcare cluster, also a science research cluster. Within approximately 5 kilometers of the site here at the Innovation Hub, we have about 7 hospitals. Right next door here we have the Steve Biko Memorial Hospital, which is one of the largest public hospitals in South Africa. Then also we have relationships with the private healthcare hospitals such as Life. For example, Wilges is our emergency unit if ever there's a severe adverse drug reaction that presents itself. We have formal relationships with the university where we can recruit healthy volunteers from the student population, and there we utilize their clinical research unit to actually do the screening process for us.
So at a macro level, the regulatory environment here is very strong. I think the Medicines Control Council here tends to follow European and American regulatory frameworks, which has its upsides and its downsides, as I think we're all aware. I think that the quality control mechanisms that are in place from a public sector or government perspective are very strong, and we certainly seek to adhere to or have to adhere to each of those regulatory requirements. Internally within VX Pharma, we have a very strong clinical team in terms of medical staff, support staff, and a lot of experience within the clinical trial space, spanning many decades additively. We clearly strive to achieve the highest levels of quality control, adhere to all the regulations, both GCP, Medicines Control Council, Pharmacy Council regulations, etc. Each trial demands the introduction of a principal investigator who is specialised in that particular therapeutic area. And given the networks that we have throughout the country, we are able to bring in possibly either the top or close to the top specialists in each of those particular therapeutic areas as a principal investigator for each trial. I think one of our critical strengths, again, is the very strong clinical team who are employed full-time by ourselves to monitor and evaluate all the trials and the patients. It allows us to provide that continuity of care, right from the screening process through to the end of each particular trial. I think what is a particularly strong feature within our business is our systems, our IT systems, and this database that we have created around all the patients that come through on clinical trials. So all those patients that are screened are retained within the database, potentially for future engagement in ongoing trials or new trials.
Yeah, look, I think it's very exciting. There are other multinationals that are involved in early phase research, but very few of them are located here in Gauteng, particularly within the regions of Pretoria and Johannesburg, which, as you know, is really becoming one metropolitan area. So I think with the density of the healthcare cluster, as well as the number of practitioners that are associated with that cluster and the patients that are served by that cluster, I think it's an incredible opportunity. Access to patients globally has become more and more difficult. And through our relationships with the primary care clinics, we have the ability to recruit mostly treatment-naive patients for chronic diseases, which is quite unique.
VX Pharma is poised for recognition as being a leading contributor to medical research and diagnostics through the provision of professional cutting-edge technology, backed by dedicated and highly professional staff. Their combined vision and dedication to patient care and favourable outcomes for patients is the hallmark of VX Pharma.